Renegades just came out for Destiny 2 on December 2nd, and I just finished the campaign yesterday, so I'm going to give you my woes and no's and what you should and shouldn't do, so on and so forth, and what my thoughts are on the entirety of the campaign and the DLC as of now up to where I've gotten to. Now, we're going to go over abilities first, and let me make this clear. I don't have any information for you about the Hunter abilities. I've only seen it happen, and Tether looks great. I'll say that. Titan, I haven't seen anyone use, and I haven't used it in Renegades or even Edge of Fate so far, so I have no idea if people are liking the buffs or nerfs to it right now. What I can say, though, and talk about, is the Warlock abilities. And we're going to go over this subclass to subclass. Solar, from what I know, there's no changes besides that big sword one, and no one really uses that besides PvP anyway, so screw it. I'm not even going to bother talking about it. It doesn't matter. Let's go over Stasis. Shadebinder got a 200-something buff, and I noticed it a bit when I was playing the PvE environment. It was decent, but I don't know if it necessarily pushed it over the table. It was definitely really good for crowd control and did more damage than a Nova Bomb did. At the end of, I believe, the first or second mission, where you have those giant walkers, I was able to use one of my supers, aka the Shadebinder super for your Stasis subclass, and destroy one of those walkers. Nova Bomb would only take out half their health. So Shadebinder definitely has a noticeable buff, but I don't know if it's noticeable enough to actually be used in any endgame activities, which I know Destiny isn't just endgame and there's a lot of added control, but in general, when I'm using a super and it's not well of radiance, I want it to work well in the end game. If you're a Warlock, you don't really have that freedom as much. It is what it is, and I will do some damage testing here soon, or at least look at some damage testing to see where I am possibly wrong and not wrong. Arc is what I used a majority of this game, and it's for a good reason. And let me just break it down for you real quick. Arc was used specifically because in Renegades, you had an extremely high health bar, but you didn't heal very fast, no matter what it was. The reason for that was because of the Imperium and the devices they put on the planet, and it was all story reasons, blah, 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 blah. We all understand that. But because of that, Arc, in my opinion, finally became truly, truly usable. And I loved it. I also got an Uncivil Discourse level 5 weapon off the immediate first 10 minutes of playing Renegades. It has air-cooled core, jolting feedback, quick draw, projected fuse, fluttered barrel, and a few other ones in between there, but that's what I'm mostly using currently for the weapon in this moment. And I loved it so much, I was like, screw it, this would go perfect, especially with jolting feedback, if I was using Arc. And it makes sense to use Arc because they just did a buff to Chaos Reach. It was a 20% buff. And when I was using it throughout the campaign, I was like, Arc feels amazing. And in the campaign, it does feel amazing. And there's one crucial thing I missed. It's because of the, I guess, nerf or punishing factor of not being able to heal. Believe it or not, that Arc feels stronger, because you're able to take a lot more hits, and since there are a bunch of those little healing orbs around, it doesn't really matter how often you're getting hit, because you can just heal yourself with one of those real quick. Versus when you're in a standard situation, and this is where I learned the hard way, you're still in your current situation where Warlock Arc was before, Arc is unusable. Because you have no survivability, unlike the Titan and Hunter, where they can heal from one way or another using Arc. You barely have enough super strength to take most stuff out. Yes, it comes back fast, and I don't know what happened between the original Chaos Reach Geomax Stabilizers, Gardens of Salvation build, to now, but even them buffing it on a consistent basis isn't enough. They need to do more with it. I don't know how they can do more. I don't know exactly what to tell them to do besides either buff geomags even harder, and I don't mean by making it so it lasts longer or so it has the opportunity to make your super come back faster, because in end raid content, Chaos Reach in general lasts too long. It really does. It lasts way too long, and half the time it takes almost a full damage phase to even let the ability off. It needs to either have a new exotic that comes out that just lets one big ball of lightning or one solid stream of all the power come out in less than a second, and it's just a concentrated kaboom, you know? Or it needs to be buffed to a point to where they could shrink the amount of time that Geomag lets it stay up, but the damage is equivalent to whatever Titan Thunder Crash would be. And I understand Titan Thunder Crash is like the main thing used for Titan, but hunters don't mostly use Arc, and their Arc super is pretty darn good now, and overall their Arc subclass is pretty darn good, man, can't lie. It's pretty darn good. Sure, it was unusable at one point in time. It's not the circumstance anymore. And Arc Warlock, unless you're in this campaign, in my opinion, is generally unusable, and you can't take it seriously unless they have it so it has some sort of more survivability, or they make it so the super's so overbearingly strong that it only makes sense to use that subclass. And I know for the general amount of things you do in Destiny 2, Warlocks are healers. I want to be able to stray from that path when I choose to at certain times when I'm playing this game, and that's what I feel like Arc should be. And I know people might be like, well, that's what you have Nova Bomb for with Void because of Devour. Yeah, where's the Devour on Arc? There isn't any. And in general, how many Nova Bomb Warlocks do you know running around using Nova Bomb at this current time on Standard Void? You can't use Chaos Reach on Prismatic, so you can't even put it over there. You can only use Tickle Fingers. There is no Chaos Reach on Prismatic. If it was, it'd probably be amazing. But there isn't. So, I have to use the raw subclass for these situations. And even on Prismatic, in my opinion, Nova Bomb still gets outshined generally by either Song of Flame, which is amazing still, or Threaded Needle, or whatever it's called, Needle Storm, which they did improve, but we'll get to that in a second. The moment I left any current normal situation inside the campaign and went out of it and tried to play another mission, Arc was horrible, and it's generally unusable still. They need to do another buff to it, and that's really all I have to say about Arc. Let's go, even though it's my favorite, let's go to Strand. Strand overall, because the new exotic, and I haven't gotten to use it much, seems pretty awesome. The whole suspension thing seems pretty dope. Also, you have threadlings flying around everywhere. You're suspending targets. It makes your super come back faster. It makes you heal every time you suspend them. Strand Standard, just the subclass, using that alone, is going to be killer. And I haven't even gotten to use the helmet in real game situations yet, but I already know it's going to be absolutely stunning. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be amazing. You're going to generally probably run Strand currently in the current sandbox, unless the artifacts make Arc even more powerful, and I just haven't seen it yet, but I kind of don't see that coming currently for Warlocks. Strand is going to be amazing for Warlocks. And Needle Storm, yes, you could tell it's a little smarter, but, you know, it can be amped up a little bit more with the intelligence. Because Needle Storm in general does do decent damage, just not enough to push it. Not enough to push it. I think we've gone over pretty much everything there is here. Prismatic's still Prismatic. It still feels amazing on Warlock. Electric Slide is still great no matter what. And now we're going to get to the point in the video to where there will be spoilers. The main campaign. So this is your chance to click off. I'll give you a second. You ready? Let's begin. Now, in the campaign you find out who Dredgen Vale truly is. And when I first saw the trailer, I thought he was just a dope Guardian that decided that the Traveler and the Vanguard were actually truly telling everyone what to do as a Guardian. Because if you're looking at it from a Guardian standpoint of view, the Vanguard does tell you exactly what to do, and if you go against them, there's a big problem there. And they make sure you know it's a problem, and then they treat you like a big problem and have you taken care of like the big problem you are. It just turned out he was a spoiled rich kid who didn't have probable like love from his daddy. And it was a little bit disappointing. The campaign overall wasn't disappointing. I'm saying him as a character was a little bit disappointing. Because let's get this straight. Almost anyone can use the darkness abilities. That's dope. Even though it's quote unquote, you take the darkness abilities. No, anyone can go in there and grab it like you're going into a Walmart and getting a package of ham. Anyone could literally go up, grab some strand, grab some stasis, and be like, here we go. And that's it. He was very obviously easily tricked by number 6, and it's because he has a weak mind and he's a spoiled brat and he's mad that the Traveler didn't choose him, even though he probably fully understands that the Traveler only picks people that have died already. He doesn't care and thinks to some degree it's unfair. So in totality, he's not even truly mad at the Vanguard. He's mad that he isn't a special boy like you, and he can't be the weapon as well. Wah. And that daddy was never truly proud of him because he did nothing with his life for a majority of the time, even though he probably came from one of the richest families out of all of them, which if you don't know, is Tex Mechanica. I don't know how much more obvious it can get that he was a spoiled brat who was just doing whatever he thought would get him to true glory. Even with his ship destroyed and the Nightfall weapon destroyed, I guarantee you he will come back. Now, is this me telling you that he's a bad villain? Absolutely not. I think he's one of the better villains to come around in a long time, and especially the fact that he was hit with a thorn directly in the hand, and the first question that Dredgen Hope, aka Drifter, asked, "Where's your ghost, kid? Where's your ghost?" and found out then and there he didn't have a ghost because his hand wasn't coming back, which means that the light can't be sucked out of him. But even with the thorn, in general, he still should kind of have a necrosis going through him over time, destroying him. Even with all of that and the possible weakness, he was still a better villain than Lakshmi ever would be, because the story of Lakshmi was horrible all around. She's a horrible, horrible, horrible villain, and I will continue to say that over and over again, which in my opinion is the main reason people probably hated Edge of Fate, besides the fact that you became a sparkball. Okay, that was interesting in Edge of Fate, but really wasn't great. Still, he was a better overall villain, because you didn't really know his true backstory, you didn't really know what he's after, and even after this, the only thing you really know he's after is that he wants to destroy the light, and the only reason he wants to destroy the light is so the Vanguard can no longer do whatever they want. Now, I don't know if Tex Mechanica, which obviously they must be to some degree, is mad at the Vanguard as well, because it might say, hey, you can only make these kinds of weapons and these kinds because these other kinds are illegal to make. They could cause major issues for one reason or another, even though all the Cabal was hooked up with Tex Mechanical tech. I don't know. But he was just a spoiled brat who somehow became very powerful and was able to lead elite cabals, or what would have been elite cabals, from the Leviathan. Let me remind you, that's who the Imperial was from, by the way. He was from one of the Leviathan raids who survived you destroying them all. And create a weapon, with the Nine's help of course, that had the possibility of wiping out the Guardian in totality. And he didn't have to do any fancy hand movements or go inside the Traveler to do it. Which honestly puts him, in my opinion, at an A to S level threat for the Guardians. For humanity, not so much, because he's not going to kill the humans who don't have the light. But for the Guardians, he was an easy S-level threat if that weapon hit, because there was a certain point in time where that weapon had the possibility of hitting from anywhere it wanted to. Now, of course, we don't know how the ship fueled or any of that stuff. It could have been eating suns for all we know, kind of like how, I don't know how the Death Star worked in Star Wars, but I'm going to say it ate suns. Something like that rhymes in my head a little bit. It rings in there a bit that's what it was doing, was taking the power of the sun with its laser. And overall, the campaign was really cool. The lightsabers are amazing, and every single weapon I played with, I enjoyed using. Even with the overheating mechanic, in my opinion, I still like the feel of the weapons more than any of the Edge of Fate weapons that came out, besides the one that came out during the summer update, where you had that SMG that had healing on it every time you'd reload. I always forget, heal clip. I'm going to give this campaign a solid 8 out of 9 chicken wings. And the reason is because I still think there was some things that they could have done better, but it could have honestly been worse. If I had to give it on a scale of 1 to 10, though, I'd probably still rate it at between a 7.5 to 8. It was not the best campaign I've ever played, not the best game played I ever played, and I don't really like Star Wars, but they made Star Wars look fun and feel fun, and overall, it felt way better than Edge of Fate in totality, which it could just be the fact that I just experienced Edge of Fate a few months ago and it sucked. That's why I'm even giving it a high rating, but whatever. The Renegades' abilities were really, really cool and really useful through the entirety of the campaign. Am I disappointed they didn't add any true new abilities? Absolutely. And if they did, I probably would have given it an even higher score. But we're going to go solid 7.5 out of 10. Let me know what you think in the description or the comments down below. Go ahead, like, subscribe. Tell me what you agree with. Tell me what you disagree with. If you have something to add, go ahead and tell me what it is. You all have yourself a great day, night, and or evening. And remember, sometimes spoiled rich kids can almost destroy the entirety of a military on Earth if they have enough money.